Welcome back to my tiny small corner of the internet. This video, if you couldn't guess by the title, is going to be discussing really what I think are the main types of strategies when playing Magic the Gathering. So, really there are only two different main, quote-unquote, main strategies. There's aggro, and then there's build-up or control. So, well, I guess you could say three, because control is kind of its own thing. But, so those are like the main three. And then you have like different variations of those. So, like, you could have build up that is very wicked fast, so it could be considered aggro. Like my green deck, which I used to call Stompy, that is in rehab a little bit. It has some stuff that needs done, but you know, um, the other main aspect to playing aggro, especially aggro, is your deck has to be, I don't know how to put this except for faster than your opponents. Because in order for aggro to work, you have to be quick, concise, and to the point. You want to kill your opponent as fast as possible. Now, if you're trying to play control, one of the build-up strategy, it's more of a, I'm either going to build my board state and wait for my opponents to come at me, or I'm going to wait for my opponent's move, if you're playing control. A lot of times, control players will play a lot of counter spells. They'll play spells that will lock down your creatures, your lands, artifacts. Stupid shit. There's even control spells that will lock down the number of spells your opponents can play in a turn and what spells they can play. So, control has a lot going for it. So does aggro because, I mean, if you can kill your opponent quick before they even have a chance to do anything about it, it's done and done. That's game right there. But then you have more like what I like to do, which is a cross between build up and aggro, which is what my Stompy deck is. It is basically, it's build up, quote unquote. But the way that I built the deck, it is more, it's more aggro than it is build up. And so that's one of the few things that a lot of people just don't understand about it. They're like, oh, well, it's green, so it must be build up. Yes and no. Because there's a lot of mana ramp. Yes, that's true. There's a lot of big creatures in there. But the mana ramp makes up for the fact that I don't really have all that many smaller creatures in that deck because, oh, by the way, who needs small creatures when you have endless, limitless mana? The other thing that I wanted to point out, personally speaking, is you have to, if you're going to play aggro, you have to be very, very efficient and very fast. And I know I've said that already in this video, but it really is the whole point of playing aggro is to be faster than your opponents and to come at them as quickly as you possibly can and give no breaks. Your whole goal as an aggro player is to kill your opponents before they have a chance to do anything about you coming at them. Now, if you're playing control, control is a funny one because control can be played against build-up and aggro. It's best against build-up because there's a little bit more time for you to get your lands out, get your deck rolling, get the ball going, do what you're going to do. But ultimately, control is going to be, like I said, a lot of locking down your opponent's artifacts, lands, creatures, planeswalkers, things of that nature. Control can be many things. It can be counter spells, mill. As a matter of fact, burn can even be considered control to an extent if you play like I do, where you don't let your opponents get a board state if possible. I mean, you can do anything. As a matter of fact, my Is It build, it is burn and control. So there's a lot of counters, there's a lot of flyers, a lot of burn spells, like just crazy, like, just hit you in the face type shit. So there's no, like, you're not holding back, you're just going full on head first right at your opponent because, well, I mean, you're sitting across the table from me and you're currently blocking me from moving on. And especially in a tournament, the hard thing is determining whether you want to play aggro, build up, or control because there's weaknesses to each of them. Like aggro, a good blue deck with a shit ton of counters is a good way to beat aggro. As far as build up, aggro. Good way to beat build up is aggro. Control, I think about the only really good way to beat a good control deck is to play a better control deck. Because the reality is when you're fighting control, they're going to lock down a bunch of your stuff. They're going to counter a bunch of your spells. They're going to play big flyers. They're just going to continually nail you in the face. So, it's not exactly easy to fight control. It can be done. Don't get me wrong. I've done it. It can be done. It just requires either A, a lot more strategy, or B, a control deck that's worse than what you're fighting. And personally speaking, I tend to play with more strategy rather than just control because I feel like control is kind of being lazy about it. The other thing that I tend to do a lot is I will, generally speaking, when I play with somebody, I'm not playing with a new player. So I know what their playstyle is. I know, generally speaking, how their decks are going to run. So generally speaking, when I come up against an opponent of mine and they're like, oh, I'm going to play this style, I know, generally speaking, what their deck is going to do. Not only based on that style, but based on the way that they play. And this is, I'm getting into some other topics right now, but this is why you play with Playgroup, because it allows you to learn the way that people play. It allows you to play in a more relaxed setting and really just enjoy your deck, let it do what it's going to do, and just keep going. Also, something else I wanted to note, as far as playing with a play group, if you're going to play with a play group, play with your play group from day one. You don't want, oh, well, I've been kind of just hopping from person to person to person, now I'm with this play group. If you're going to pick and play with a play group, choose that play group when you start playing. Don't, oh, well, I'm going to just go from person to person to person to person. Now I'm with this play group. Because it creates this situation where you've seen all these different decks that they have no idea of, and you're prepared, which, yes, that's great for you because then you're, like, more prepared for what they're going to throw at you, but then they're not really prepared, and on that note, it's not really fun for them because you're just powerhouse over the top because you already know what they could potentially build and what they could potentially do with the cards that they have. So, on the note of choosing your play group, choose people that are your friends and that are not going to get butthurt just because you ran the table. Don't choose people that you know are going to get mad at you for running the table, are going to get upset with you because your deck is overpowered, are going to just not want to play with you because you play an overpowered deck. Choose people that you know are like, okay, yeah, you're an asshole, you built that deck, that's overpowered. Fine, I'll build this deck that's going to be twice as overpowered as that one is, and then we'll see how you like it. Play with people that play with the mindset of anything you can do, eventually I will do better. That is the motto, and that is my motto with playing, because it allows for your opponents to get used to your play style, get used to you playing, get used to playing with you, and it allows for a more well-balanced atmosphere, and it allows as well for you to experiment and play around and toy with what decks that you have, and it allows you to think while you're not playing, oh, well, they have this deck. Let's say Tron, for example, right? If your opponent is playing Tron and you get completely and totally trashed because your deck just does not keep up, then when you're sitting at home, you're like, well, I mean, I could try like heavy counters, or I could try aggro, like there's all these different things I could, or I could just straight play control against them. It allows for not really repetition, but more of a routine game, if that makes any sense. And I know that that's not exactly what's going to happen, but sometimes you want a more routine game where, yeah, I know generally speaking how they play, I know generally speaking what they like to play, so I know generally speaking what to be prepared for, if I can talk. Um, it creates a better atmosphere when you play with a play group versus random people that you meet on the street. And, oh, by the way, if you play with a play group, you know everybody knows how to play. Versus playing with random people you meet on the street, where you potentially have to teach them and give them decks and all this crap. So basically, what I'm saying is, if you're gonna have a play group, pick them right off the bat, know who they are, and know what they're gonna tolerate and what they're not. So, like, if you go to your play group and you're like, "Hey, I've been considering building this sliver deck," and they just look at you and say, "No, if you do that, you're out of the play group." That's not the kind of play group you want. What you want is, oh, you're going to build slivers. I'm going to try and build something to counter it as best I can because I don't have slivers, but I'm going to try to counter them as best as possible. Because, again, you're looking for that fun interaction of, well, I'm going to play this. Well, I'm going to counter that. Or, oh, well, I'm going to play this. Fine, I'll burn it. Or, oh, I'm going to play this spell. Actually, I'm going to take control of that spell and redirect it where I want. You want these kinds of back and forth between you and your opponent interactions. And I guess I really don't have anything else to say about it. So this is me signing off. Thunderdome Gaming. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Turn on the notification bell. You know the drill. And I'll see you guys in the next video.